Matt Aguilar from comicbook.com here, and welcome to Power Morphicon. With us today, we're going to talk comics, so it makes sense to talk to the person behind Power Rangers comics, one of the many people, of course, but head writer Ryan Parrott. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You like how I opened it up? I didn't want to make it like I know like you're obviously not the only person that works on the Power Rangers comics, but I bounced.
I just think it's about time that I got my entire panel to myself at Power Morphicon. I know it took a pandemic to get there, but it's nice to be like me and just the table with the water glasses. Don't have to share it with anybody. Got my own mic.
Oh man, it doesn't matter how you get there. It just matters that you got there. So
check it.
Done.
Bucket list done.
So I feel like a fitting place to start because there's so much to talk about, and of course we have two different series. But Green Ranger, because that's been such a man. It feels. When was the last? I'm trying to remember actually, like when the last time we talked was, because like right now the pandemic has made like time just all my days just work together, weeks turn into months. I don't even remember. I think it was when TMNT and PR was like finishing. I think we were on like issue 4. I think that was the last time really
back
talked.
in the Stone Ages.
Early talk comics. So yeah, it's been a minute. So then it was kind of like we were wondering, the teases were already kind of there. We were wondering about the Green Ranger. And then now, of course, it's been revealed that Matt is the Green Ranger, and we've seen some of that play out, and of course some fallout as well. So just looking at overall the reveal and everything that's come since, how did you feel about the reaction to it, and why did you ultimately choose to make Matt the new Green Ranger?
Well, that's like the weird thing. Well, I mean, from judging just from my Twitter timeline, I haven't seen too much negative reaction to it. I mean, it seems like it's been fairly positive, but I also don't, you're in a pandemic, so I don't see people in the streets. No one throws food at me or anything out in the streets. That's good. But I also don't go on message boards, and I don't go on Reddit, stuff like that, just for my own sanity.
Yep.
But it's the only way. Yeah, I don't want it to sound, when I say that, I don't make it sound like I don't care what people think. I definitely want people to like the book, but it's just that, when by the time a review comes out, I've already written 4 more issues and broken the 4 after that. So like the story is kind of what the story is. So if you don't like it, like a buddy of mine just wrote a script the other day and gave it to a friend. He's like, I don't like the concept. I was like, he wrote the whole script. What do you think? He's just going to be like, yep, that was a year of my life, just throws it away. So no. Sure. So like most of the time I'm already down the road. But for the most part, like I feel like I know some people are lukewarm on the character, but I'm okay with that. I wanted him, when we brought him in, I wanted him to be somebody who made mistakes. I wanted him to be somebody who still struggles with his feelings for his ex-girlfriend and is in weird rivalries with her current boyfriend, because that's what high school was. That's what I did in high school, was just, like girls I shouldn't and get their boyfriends mad at me. So like, it felt like that's a realistic approach to that character. And I wanted him to be kind of divisive. Otherwise, he's just another Ranger. And we already have 6 of them, 7, 8. I can't keep track how many. Too many. But the idea behind making Matt the Green Ranger, I'll be honest. So when I created the character in Go-Go, I remember telling my editor, Daphne, he will never be a Ranger. Let's never do that. I don't want him to ever be a Ranger. Because I'd seen comics do that all the time. You create a best friend and they become a villain or a hero. And I actually intended for in issue 12, when he tells the group, tell me the truth or I'm out, that was going to be the last time you ever saw him. And I was only going to have him never say another word. I was going to make it Where's Waldo, where he'd pop up in every issue, but he would never say anything. But then as I kept writing the book, I liked the energy he brought. He was another face character you could put in peril and put in a situation, and I liked all of that. And then as I was writing the book, I remember I got to a point where I needed a MacGuffin for Zed to go down to Promethea to try and steal. And I was like, what could be there? And I was like, oh, the green Psycho Dagger, that's there. And then I remembered that I had Billy trying to fix the Dragon coin. And I realized I had an answer of how to fix the Dragon coin. And that's when it clicked. And I was like, oh man, and I've got a guy who's Kimberly's ex-boyfriend. He's going to take over the mantle of Tommy. Like, that's not going to be good. Let's do that. Like, that was the moment. And so I just felt like, look, I created the character. Somebody, whoever takes over this book at some point, they're going to turn him into a villain or hero. So why not do it myself?
Sure. You 8-miled the next writer. You just
I,
like, he's
I
just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it first. You can't
I'm
do
stealing that. That is a fantastic one. That's exactly what I did. And he just dropped them, and the Falcon just dropped the mic and walked off. Yeah.
That's exactly right, and I applaud it. I applaud the thing,
Thank
because
you.
why not? Why not get
Yeah.
to do it? You creative. I love that. And you know, one of the other things that, well, one, okay, I just gotta say, and this is not Tommy hate, but I gotta say, I have appreciated how it's been nice to see Tommy just kind of put in check a little bit over the course of your run. I feel like we've like examined things in him as a character that like maybe he's not so great at everything, especially the him and Jason stuff. And I think you've done the same for Jason as well. But like Tommy's kind of like up here. You know what I mean? Like with
Yeah.
with the fandom, and also just the way he's treated as a character. So it's just been kind of nice. It's been kind of nice to see like actually a lot of the humanity to him, and the flaws. It's nice to see. That's not a question. I just
No,
thought
I
I'd give you
appreciate it. I
props.
mean, I will be funny. I've never met Jason David Frank. I have a weird feeling he would walk right past me. Like he probably doesn't know who I am. And if he ever did meet me, he'd be like, "Oh, you're the guy I gave my Green Ranger costume to somebody else," and like, kick me out of there. No, I love Tommy. Tommy's a great character. He's a lot of fun. I grew up with the original group. So to me, Tommy came in at the end. I really liked Jason. I was a Jason guy. And it's not that I'm somebody who's going to read that and be like, oh, he likes Jason more than Tommy, he's going to take him down. No, that's the guy that I liked. And I liked that character. And I really have enjoyed the layers to that. I feel like I've enjoyed doing those playing with that character, and playing with like Jason and Trini and Zach has been fun for me because Tommy has been around for so long, and everybody has dug into him so much. He's got, Soul of the Dragon,
Right.
and he's been on the show. He was on the show for forever. So he's had a lot more stories done about him, and I just felt like I wanted to dig into the characters that I don't think got the opportunity they deserved on the show. So I've been trying to do that.
Right. And also that doesn't come from just to put that, because I know someone's gonna like, well,
Yeah.
Matt hates Tommy. That's not correct. I have a White Ranger poster behind me. Like I love the White Ranger. It's my favorite, if not one of my favorites, if not my favorite.
It's a
Ranger,
great design. It's
period.
a great design. Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that version of Tommy. I love Tommy during that time and in that role. And I think he's been great in parts. It's just nice to see sometimes a character kind of dissected a little bit and, explored in a way that they necessarily haven't been before. So that's awesome. And then also another character that has kind of received the same treatment in your series is Zordon, because again, it's kind of this iconic floating head, but it's this like iconic character. And a lot of the stuff you get in the series is in the TV series is very much like, he's not infallible, but he's kind of,
he's pretty close.
Yeah, he's pretty close, right? I mean, it's just like everything Zordon says is you can deduct that like it's going to be the right thing and it's for the right reasons and all these other things. And what I love about the comics is that it really explores him as a character. He's not always making the right decision, or it's a decision that you could debate with someone else. Like there's another option and it might just be just as compelling an option, and there's an openness there. So what I love lately is that there is some discord we've seen with Billy and him, especially in that last issue where it kind of came up that which, by the way, I love that sequence when he realizes like Billy just has that conversation and is like, and he's kind of like right
panel of him like, nuts.
Right. Yeah, I just had that, and man. But then we've also seen, of course, in the Omega Rangers kind of, just jacked Drakken from him and was like, nah, we don't agree. And, is this kind of just looking at Zordon's whole leadership style, could there be a case made that it's a little dated, especially when you've also got Grace Sterling out there leading things on her own terms. So like, could that case be made?
Yeah, I mean, maybe date. Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I sort of always looked at that character is I've always sort of seen Zordon as the Power Rangers' dad. And I think if you look at everything I've written from the beginning of my first, like with Go-Go, like when I started writing Go-Go, like I looked at him as I'm like, okay, he's the dad who sees these kids as people that need to be protected and need to be sort of, given rules, and sort of he's the helicopter dad a little bit with them. And then over the course of my run, all the way through like 30 something or 20 something, he went from being he started to realize that they were their own people and teenagers, and that they needed to sort of be given enough freedom to sort of make their own mistakes. And that was his arc in Go-Go. And then in Necessary Evil, I kind of looked at it as he kind of took a step back, back seat to the Stone Canyon Trio, because you can't have everybody have an arc. So I was just like, I just sort of use him in sort of the general Zordonish way. It's got a new word I'm going to use. But when we started breaking down ideas for what we wanted to do with Unlimited Evil, Unlimited Power. Sorry, I always forget the name of these things. I said, I want to. What is it? If he's the dad, what's it like when your kids start to actively disagree with your stance on things? And I looked at it kind of like this idea that it's like when you go to college and you come back home, right? From you go to college and you come back home for Thanksgiving that first year, and you sit down with your Republican parents maybe, and you start talking about sociology and politics, because you've experienced new things and you're finding, and it gets really fraught because your parents feel like in some ways that they this is not the kid that I raised. They're going in different directions. And sometimes that becomes a grading period where they feel like they failed in raising you, where they feel like at the same time you're finding your own voice and your own personality for the first time. And so that's what I wanted this story to be. I wanted to be about Zordon watching, especially with the Omega Rangers, looking at these kids and going, that's not the way to do things. That's not the way I do things. And is he right or wrong? And that's the thing that I liked about it, was I've always sort of looked at his progression as sort of the father that's slowly evolving his relationship with his kids. And so hopefully, will he become a good parent out of this or a bad parent? We'll see. But that's the way that I look at it. So outdated is probably not a bad way to look at it. I just think that it's about that his kids are maturing, and he's dealing with the fact that they, everybody's got a coming of age story, right? But your parents don't get to choose what you come of age of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And they bring a bunch of new ideas, and some of it's just ideas that you don't agree with. Others, it's just completely new ideas, and parents don't. I'm not looking forward to this day. It's going to happen down the line.
Funny.
I already know.
You're on the other side of this now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a little different.
Gonna buy myself a big tube and paint it blue, and
there you go.
Just oh my god, that would be a killer. Is there a filter for that on FaceTime? Or something.
Someone's got to make that soon.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. Just appear to my daughter. I'm Zordon. Answer the phone. Oh my god. Okay.
If they can make that, have you seen the video of the guy with the bear who's got the kid in the back seat and he's just like, I'm a bear? If that's the greatest filter ever, there's got to be a Zordon filter. There's got to be a Zordon filter.
Oh my god.
Somebody get on that.
We needed somebody to get on that. Yeah. And also we've seen a lot of, kind of just around the realm of Zordon's history and his kind of growth. We've also seen a lot of really interesting things done with Eltar and his past, and all these characters that have either, some have been mentioned or the ideas have been mentioned, but we really haven't had a chance to flesh those out. And we've seen that recently. I guess what has been the biggest challenge in trying to flesh out Zordon's history and backstory? Was it just that there isn't so much of the base material to kind of spring off of, or was that part of the fun, because you really just kind of get to run wild if you want?
Well, the interesting thing, and this might get me in trouble, but I don't think it is, but Eltar and Zordon's past were always sort of very, I want to say off limits, but they were sort of they were held in very high regard when Saban had the property. And so we had always discussed the possibility of going into that world. And it was always sort of like, yeah, maybe we'll see if you it was sort of like, eat your vegetables and maybe you can get to that kind of thing. And so I always had sort of kind of never really wanted to touch it, because it just felt like it was never going to get anywhere. And then when Hasbro took it, they just didn't, they were like, yeah, go have fun with it, do whatever you want. And I was like, well, that was really, very cool. And so I like off of what you sort of said about him being infallible. I that's how I feel Zordon has always sort of been, right? He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He always sort of knows what to do. And I was like, that's not real. Someone in charge is gonna make mistakes, right? They're gonna eventually get something wrong. And I thought, well, as we started figuring out the storyline, I was like, I want to see Zordon before he knew what was right, always right. I want to see Jim. What was Zordon like when he was Jason's age? What's that? And I was like, that's just super interesting, because I was like, what's, you know, I wanted to figure out, like, if he's just so strong in his opinion and he's just got, I was like, can we take his faith in things and tear it apart? Can we break up his faith in the Rangers? Can we break up his faith in himself? Can we break up his faith in sort of that he's on the side of right? And when I did that, I was like, okay, we should show him where he started. And then we can see we can sort of gauge and see what built the principles of the Zordon that we've come to know. And then what happens when those principles are sort of put to the test. And that's kind of what, and that's where the flashbacks came from. I was like, okay, that's sort of when I realized that's what the arc wanted to be, I was like, we got to see the beginning. And the cool thing about it is, like, there isn't a lot of stuff about Eltar, which means there's a lot of freedom. And I really like I've really enjoyed going back and just trying to think about, you know, okay, if you were Eltar and you were you're going up against the Alliance of Evil and you're trying to figure out a way to protect people, that conversation between, you know, do we protect ourselves? Do we protect everyone? You know, how do we protect people? You know, one of the things I've always thought was interesting about Zordon was the fact that he has sort of a non-interference clause, you know, like he doesn't want to, like, there's a thing that I wrote in Go-Go where it was like, Jason comes to him and is like, hey, my dad's sick. Can we use any technology? And he's like, that's not our job. We don't help you along. We just protect you. And I was like, what a weird rule.
Right.
Like, what a weird decision. Like, there's a very specific decision. There's like a line there, which I always like. I think sometimes when things don't quite make sense, or you're like, well, why would they have that rule? When you get written into a box that way, it's really fun to figure that out. So, like, that's been the fun about trying to think about. There was a scene in the flashback when Supreme Guardian Zophram comes to the elders and is basically like, we need to start protecting people. And their argument is, you can't do that because you can't, you know, if we start interfering, it's like, yeah, but if we just leave them out there, the bad guys don't care about that. The bad guys are going to come in and take over. So by not interfering, we are literally leaving them to become, not only get wiped out, or potentially become adversaries. So it's in our best interest. And I just think those are the fun conversations that I think I've been able to have by getting to go into Eltar. And we're going to have, Eltar plays a much bigger part of the where we're going forward. So, you know, hopefully stay tuned. If you like what we've done so far, there's some big stuff coming.
Well, you know, so you guys did mention that there was a big secret one in the announcement that Dan Mora is drawing the book, which I'm always over the moon anytime Mora gets to work on, well, anything, but Power Rangers especially.
Yeah, you and me both.
So good. But there is kind of a big secret linked to Zordon's past. Anything you can tease about that? Not spoilery, of course.
I wrote that over a year ago.
Man, that's crazy.
Because Dan's so busy that Dan does like 2 books a month and then does other things too, and has like babies and like, I don't know how the heck he does what he does. He's there. I'm convinced there are 2 Dan Moras and one's in like a basement somewhere just drawing. Yeah, so we when we figured out what we wanted to do with the story, I literally said, okay, my editor was like, hey, Dan's available if we could give him, if he could draw like 1 page a month. or like 2 pages a month. And I was like, okay, so I wrote the whole issue like a year ago before I wrote anything else, just to sort of,
my Lord.
Yeah, just like I knew kind of what I wanted to do with it, but I was like, okay, in order to get him to do this, I have to plan it out. I have to plan that part out pretty well. So yeah, that's not really an answer to your spoiler, but I'll say this. Yeah, it's I feel like I should get off Twitter like right before it comes out, because I feel like 50% of people are going to be real happy and 50% of people are going to like raid, pitchforks and stuff like that. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Like that's not really a spoiler. It's a big part of the mythology of the series, and something that I've wanted to do for a while. It's kind of in the same realm as the Green Ranger thing. It's that thing you talk about doing, and then you basically sort of go, well, can we do that? Like, should we do that? And then they're like, why not? Let's give it a shot. So like, that's the best answer I can give you without really spoiling it. We can talk after it comes out, and we can talk all about the reasoning. But yeah, it was a really fun thing I wanted to get into, and just getting to work with Dan again was awesome too, because like he's the best. He makes me look like I know what I'm doing.
I mean, look, you have some amazing artists.
I do.
On this book. I mean, the Power Rangers has never lacked for great artists. I'm just a big fan of Mora,
Oh yeah.
and it's awesome. Also, quick mentioning Twitter reminded me because it's been a minute. Were you prepared, or did you even see the love that like sexy Zordon got?
Oh
That,
yeah.
that quickly became a thing, and I was like, oh my god, were you prepared for that when that got all released?
I remember when we got the design of him in the half cape cloak
Yeah.
that Eleonora did, and I was like, dude, he looks awesome. He should wear that all the time if he had, a body. Yeah, no, I was very much into that. It's funny, like how that one design has influenced everything about Eltarians. Like we looked at that drawing that she did, and we were like, okay, let's work that. This is the style. This is the world. Like it's funny how it all kind of. So yeah, Sexy Zordon had a huge impact on just the world building as well as just becoming a meme. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
actually, I was way more excited. Somebody showed me that the picture of Goldar where he's like, "Why am I meant only to suffer?" had gotten like on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I'll take that. Nice.
And yeah, since now it's been a bit since we've had both Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers as their separate series, and the Omegas have really kind of taken off and really gone their own way. It really feels like a different style of Power Rangers book. What have you felt about the reception to the book overall? Just because it's so different, it feels like from Mighty Morphin, and also because these characters are kind of really they're getting a lot of runway that they didn't obviously get in the television series because they weren't around for that long chunk of time. Has there been a character that has become your favorite that maybe wasn't at the start?
Oh, that's like picking a kid, man. I can't do that. No, but yeah, like I think the fun has been. So I'll say the best to answer the second question first. Like, is there a favorite? There's not a favorite, but I've really enjoyed the fact that because there was less characters in the book, because it's just 3 to 4 characters and it's not 7, and like that's the hardest thing I think about writing Mighty Morphin is that there's a lot of mouths to feed. You have a lot of characters, right. And you want to give everybody a little bit to do, but and I feel like that's one of the things I probably frustrate a lot of readers with is like everybody has a favorite character, and sometimes that character, if you're an Adam fan, you're not getting a lot of meat on the bone. And it's not because Adam's not a great character, it's just that I have to, when you're writing Mighty Morphin, you have to deal with all of the new characters plus guest stars, which we know, and you're dealing with villains and Bulk and Skull and family members and all that stuff. You just run out of space. But with which has been really interesting about doing Power Rangers with the Omega Rangers is it's just the 3 of them, and they're trying to figure things out on their own. So I've really enjoyed sort of digging into them a little bit more and like specifically finding that thing about each character that they're struggling with and trying to create a mission that specifically attacks that wound. I've really liked that. Writing them in general, just doing. I knew when I was going to do both books that I was like, like there's a very strong format and like continuity that comes with writing Mighty Morphin because it's it's part of the book and everybody knows it from the show. But what I would love about writing Omega is that it's just I'm free to kind of go anywhere and do anything that I want. Like I can play with the format a little bit. It's more like Mandalorian or a Star Trek show than it is actually like the Power Rangers, and it's been really fun to use that as a way to sort of like dip my toe into future seasons and bring in and in a weird way try and tie the universe together a little bit more whenever I can. I've really liked that. That's been a lot of fun to sort of play with that, and it's just been very freeing. Like it can be hard sometimes when you're like, okay, I got to get to that Zord fight in issue 4, and like it's because that's the part of the show. It's like it'd be weird if there was a whole show where they didn't use the Zords, like which has happened, but like that's the point. Like that's the formula of the show is that, and so like the Mega has allowed me a little bit more freedom and a little more time and space to be able to dig into the characters.
Well, and a big part of the fun is the just walking chaos that is Drakken, right? I mean, that's such an interesting part of that book. Was that always the plan from inception to kind of bring him in as the, fourth, give or take, fourth member of the team? And what's the biggest challenge in crafting his character and storyline? Are there things you avoid, or are there things you kind of try and embrace just because of all the stuff that has come before with him?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, Boom and Hasbro were pretty. I think it was Hasbro. They were pretty gung ho about having him come back into the series. So I was like, okay, it's cool. I'm totally okay with bringing him back into the series. but I was like, but only if we can do something different with him. And so my pitch was like, okay, let's take all of the things that, all the trappings of Drakken, and let's get rid of him. Like, what's he look like when he doesn't have his morpher? What does he look like when he doesn't have his army and he's not in the coinless universe and he's not trying to dominate all of reality? Like, what's that guy down to his base? And so I was like, well, like what's interesting about that is like, he knows these Rangers really well. Like, he's been around them and fought them for a really time. He's an older character. And so I was like, well, he's got that. Like, as I said before, like when I look at like all the show and I've been looking at like Zordon is like, you know, Zordon's like the father. Like sometimes the way I've been looking at the Omega Rangers is like the Omega Rangers, they were in high school, and then in Necessary Evil they went to college and like went into space. That's college, right? They went away and had a new teacher, which is the Blue Emissary, and did all that stuff and changed and became their own people. And now they're out of college, and now so like in a weird way they're like out in the world. And they're being led on like an intergalactic road trip, trying to figure out their purpose in the world led by the worst person in the world who has who is literally is like has only wants to wreck their lives. And so like that was fun. I feel like when I figured out that's what his purpose would be, it was a sort of, he knows these people, he knows to their core, like what, like that's the thing that I've enjoyed about him. It's like I feel like I've tried to make him somebody who just he can zero in on. You know, you ever have a friend who like just knows that thing, they can say that one line and just really frustrate you, and like they make you angry. Yeah, like they just know, and they do it on purpose, but like they pretend they don't. Like,
and I've been that person.
Yeah, exactly.
I have that on other people as well, so I know.
Like you know that, like if they piss you off, you know that one thing they're sensitive about, and you're gonna like throw that into a conversation or bring it up in front of a girl they like, or a boy they like, or whatever. And I feel like that's Drakken, and I've enjoyed writing that part of him because I felt like he. You know, like I think he's a very polarizing character. There's a lot of people who really dislike that he's still in the book, and I'm okay with that because there's as many people who really like him as well. So it's a thing. You're 50-50 down the line, so you just got to write the story you like. And I've enjoyed him just because I feel like he brings us, like you said, a certain area of chaos into each scene, and he's, you know, like I didn't. This sounds weird to say this, but like everybody was like, "Oh, you're gonna immediately bring him in and you're gonna not rehab, right? You're gonna redeem him." And I was like, "Really? Like, I don't like doing that." My thing that I don't like about comic books sometimes is whenever a villain becomes really really popular, they immediately turn them into a hero. Like Sabretooth drives me crazy. I love that guy.
X-Men is the most guilty party of that. And I love X-Men. It's one of my favorite things, but like, man, they're so bad about that.
They get so caught up in trying to make a character relatable that they literally are like, well, no one can be a villain. I was like, no, people do things for selfish, terrible, egotistical reasons all the time. And it's like, and like a lot of people do bad things knowing they're bad things. They want the thing they want. If you get in the way, they take it. And so that's who Drakken is to me. I don't see Drakken as a misunderstood villain. I think he's a bad guy who wants things. He's a petulant child who's like, I want reality, and if anybody gets in my way, I'm going to knock him down. And like that, but he wants what he wants, and all of us are like that. So like that's my argument on him. I like him as a character because he just brings a different want as opposed to the Rangers.
Well, and I know. Well, okay. First, so is Drakken the John Cena of Power Rangers? So, because like John Cena got as many boos as he got cheers, but the thing was everybody cared, and that's kind of the thing of like if they're not booing you and if they're not cheering you, they don't care. Yeah. And if you're getting as loud of either one, you're on the radar, right? I feel like that's So I think
I've heard basketball players say all the time they love playing in other state. Like they go and play. Devin Booker has said, "I like going to other stadiums because I like the boos make me play harder." Like that I know, but he's like that chip on his shoulder, that thing of like, it's those people who are like, some people who only do things because like they're mad at other people. Like I want to show that. Like a friend of mine, without telling anybody, he married a woman and found out that her previous husband had written a novel, and so he went that day and was like, "I'm writing a novel. I'm gonna write a novel because I want to like I don't want that guy. If I meet him, I don't want that to hang over my head." And he wrote a novel.
Oh my god!
And so
he wrote one.
He wrote it. He finished it, got it published and everything. But like that's the kind of things that like some people just need that thing. And I feel like that's, there's some people like
I gotta respect that.
that's a lot of work. Yeah.
No, that's a lot of work. It's like if I found out someone, my man. I mean, here's the thing: I have that chip on my shoulder with certain people. But like, if I was like, oh man, they wrote a book, I'm like, yeah, I'm not writing.
I'm just happy my wife didn't like marry like her previous boyfriend was like an astronaut, or I'd be screwed.
And speaking of Drakken, kind of because that is familiar, we have seen villains get redeemed a lot, and that's why there's actually been a lot of talk and chatter, especially with the fact that like there's no Blue Ranger on the team. And I'm not gonna lie, I honestly forgot that we didn't have a Blue Ranger for like a long time. I was like, oh my god, that's right, like she's like just chilling in a jar somewhere, and we haven't had a Blue Ranger yet, and that it's crazy. So would you ever, is that an option on the table then, to have Drakken become a Blue Ranger? Is that kind of go against you don't necessarily have to redeem a character, I guess, to make them a Ranger, but it seems like you could. I don't know. That's a weird thing. Also, is it, I never know now, is it Kaya or Kia?
I call her Kaya, but that's just me. Yeah.
So Kaya, I'm gonna go with you. I'm pretty. You're kind of like the main person. I'm gonna go with yours. Is Kaya's story done? Like, is that just kind of a close thing, or is that something that could come up later on?
No, I mean, it's comics. Like, I would never, I mean, one of the things that I've really liked about, like, one of the goals I had when I came into my run of doing Power Rangers was like, I was like, look, I like Rita and I like Zed. They're cool. I knew this was a comic book, and I was like, what makes comic books cool to me as a kid grew up on Batman? It's like, what I loved was the rogues gallery that Batman had to go up against, or the X-Men, the rogues gallery that they go up against. They don't go up against the same villain all the time. They have other people. And so I was like, I want to create villains. I want to make a bunch of villains that I can create, and then I can put them out in the world. And if anybody comes in after I'm done, they can play with them and pull them in, and have each one of those characters have a different motivation and a different provide a different, like, the thing that's cool about Batman, right, is like all the different villains have like, they all, like, Riddler attacks him intellectually, and the Joker attacks him sort of morally, and Scarecrow attacks him sort of psychologically, and like we could go on and on, right? But like the thing that I really wanted to do was like, I want to create some villains that have different meanings and have different sort of reasons for that. So like I created Dane as a character that came in that I really liked as the thing. He's more of a Deathstroke style character, but like he can be friend or foe. He also might have, you piss off Deathstroke, it's gonna be a bad thing. I like that. I really liked Alpha One, who I thought dug into the first steps of sort of really digging into whether or not Zordon is always on the side of right. There's the, like, Putty Rita is still out there with the Dark Rangers. Like that's still out there. There's a lot of characters that I think are fun. So I would say this is Kaya's story over? She's in the jar. She's just in the other room. And so like they're in a vault, and vaults are made to be open. So like I look at it that way, is like, do I know exactly what I'm going to do with that character down the line if I get to? Not necessarily, but I do know they're always there. And I just like that. I like creating this universe of people that can come in and come out, because I think that's what's so cool about Drakken, right? Like Drakken is that villain who came in, like now having him be it's the most fun thing in the world. It's why everybody does it. Having your villain have to hang out with your heroes and just talk trash to them. Like that's what's so cool, right? Like that's what you want to see. It's like you just want just these meaty, horrible, like emotional, like psychological conversations. And like I feel like whenever you have a villain out there, you can do that. So like yeah, I would say no. I would say Kaya's story, from me, if I keep writing it, eventually there's going to be a version where that character pops back up, because why not? You have, instead of making a new one, go dig into the thing and bring a new one. But yeah, and regarding whether or not Drakken could be the Blue Ranger, Drakken could 100% become the Blue Ranger. Will he? I'm not going to tell you, but like definitely. If I will say this, thematically, one of the things I've been playing with this series is this idea of, and especially with Trina when they went to Onyx, which is, sometimes to do the right thing, you got to do the wrong thing. That's something that has been one of the biggest themes, I think, playing into the Omega Rangers entirely, is this idea that when they worked with Zordon, when they were regular Rangers, Zordon made the tough calls. He was the one who made the right decisions. Like when you're a kid, you go to your parents, you say, hey, what should I do? And they tell you what to do. And then that scary moment is when you grow up and now you have to start making decisions. And all of a sudden, the lines between right and wrong are a little more fuzzy. And that's harder. And that's what growing up is discovering that you don't have all the answers and you have to make decisions sometimes that you would never make before. And so, making your worst enemy a member of your team, if that saves the universe,
I mean,
to be continued.
To
Yeah.
be continued. Well done, by the way. That's a good answer. We have to give props to Yale because
All right.
a treasure. I mean, I'm a sucker for animals anyway. Like just like any kind of creature in a group, I'm 90% probably going to like. But were you prepared? Because I feel like that character's already a fan favorite. I feel like the character's already become a fan favorite, and all this stuff with him and Zach, or them and Zach, is great. What was the idea kind of behind the inception of that character?
It was funny. It's one of those, another one of those evolutions. Like I remember we were writing Go-Go, and I was like, I was like, they went to another planet. I was like, well, what are we gonna do? And there was gonna be like another guy who could like fight him, and I was like, do animals have connection to the Morphin grid? Like what how does that work? Like could an animal have like that? And we were like, yeah, I think so. I don't think there's no rules there. Especially in Shattered Grid, we broke the rules, so there is no rules. So I was like, well, that'd be really cool if we could create an animal that had an access to the power, like Morphin Grid, and didn't know. Like if my dog could fly, that'd be a very bad thing. But I was like, that's such an interesting thing because it's like it's not evil, it's just instinctual, right?
Right.
And I loved the designs that Francisco did. I thought the design of Yale was so cool, and I was like, and it was bigger than I expected, and I was like, it's kind of like I don't even know how to describe it, just like a giant like bluish whitish like Dilophosaurus. Like I love the whole thing, and so I was like, I love that concept, and so I was like, when we fixed that, when Shadow Grid went back, I was like, well, Yale's still there, and I was like, I loved the idea that Z, that's how I pronounce XI, the robot. I was like, wouldn't it be great if like the cat just followed the robot around? And so then they started doing that, and then I was like, I really liked this character, and it's fun. It's like it's not hard to get people to like a giant cat that breaks stuff and sleeps around and stuff like that. But I will say this: there's a very big issue of Yale coming up very soon that will give you a lot of information about where Yale came from, and it's one of my favorite stories that I got to co-write with someone, so that was fun because I'm very excited about it. It's a very cool, really fun issue. We break some rules that I haven't. It was nice to always bring in a different writer sometimes to remind you that you don't have to keep writing everything in the exact same way. So it was very fun. But if you like Yale, I hope you'll really like. I think it's issue 10.
Now you're not gonna like break my heart like you did with Baby Squad, right? Because that story, like that little story, like made my heart hurt. I was like, oh my god, like, and I cannot believe I was empathetic to Squad.
I might.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I might.
You're killing me, Smalls. Yeah. You're killing me. Oh my god. Prepare for that. So
good call.
You're welcome, everybody.
Deep cut there.
Of course, one of the cool things too is that, and you even talked a little bit about it before, that you're kind of able to bring in other series because it's kind of on the fringes of space, and there's so much kind of open territory there. And of course, you brought one of my favorites in space. So excited, love that arc. And then we also, of course, got the one shot, and so like there's been a lot of really fun stuff. And of course, then you've got the Coinless universe, and then there's in space stuff in that. So it's been a buffet for me. I am excited. Having Astronema and Ecliptor, why did you? I guess what kind of led to having them be kind of part of that main storyline there for a bit, and bringing in those characters in particular, and was that just kind of a one-off, or is that going to be something that will also kind of develop over time with those characters? Is that kind of the last we've seen of them in that main timeline?
I don't know. I don't think it's the last we've seen of them. I knew from the beginning, when the minute we went into space, when I knew Omega Rangers was going to be basically operating in space, I'm like, well, I started checking with the timeline. I asked people I knew who were like just people who are the aficionados of Power Rangers that I don't know some stuff, and I was like, does this all make sense? And does the timelines make sense? And all of a sudden, I started realizing there was like a lot of overlap with other series and stuff like that, and just and I would like SPD and sort of and like you said, in space and all stuff. And I was like, wow, and you could even Time Force because they can go anywhere. So like there was this opportunity where you had all these circles that kind of crossed over, and I was like, well, there's some great, like I remember looking at the timeline going, I remember it was actually funny. I was like trying to figure out I was like, well, is there like a planet where like the bad people hang out that I could just have the Rangers show up at. And I was talking to my friend, he's like, dude, Onyx. And I was like, oh, right, of course. How could I forget about Onyx? It was like the weird, it just made me feel like an idiot. And then I was like, the minute that happened, I was like, oh, then Astronomer's got to be an Onyx. She's been in Onyx all the time. Like, let's do that. And so then I was like, okay, I want to do a genre style, like Western kind of thing. Let's do that. And so like, it just came out of like wanting to, it's like it's a domino. It's like you figure out that one thing and you're like, oh wait, that makes sense. I can do that. I can bring that character in. And also just Astronomer and Ecliptor are such good characters. Like they really are. They're some of the, I think they may be two of the best characters in Power Rangers of all time. I think I'd put them in probably the top 10, maybe top 5, just because like if you don't want to use like Rangers, even though technically Astronomer would be a Ranger later, but anyways, but like there's just like there was a depth to those characters. I really loved Ecliptor's relationship, about this idea of him sort of training and protecting her. Like he seems like he cared more about her than he cared about what he was doing, what he was training her for. And I love that. It's got a little Avatar, Last Airbender kind of thing going on there. But I always love that. So like I was immediately like, let's bring them in. And now they're there and they've had an interaction with the Mega Rangers. That does not mean, I mean, look, I told you, like nobody's off limits. If I can write a story and then they figure out a way to bring them back, I definitely think. And there's other characters I've already talked about bringing in, like bigger characters, and looking at the timeline and seeing if it all matches out and seeing if that's something that would eventually sort of play out. Because there's a lot of fun stuff, specifically in space. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And this next one is so dude, we've got to get more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Rangers.
I was like, where's this going? Oh,
it's not really a question. It's not really a question. It's more of like a request. Like that's really just like, dude, we gotta get some more of that. Are you still up for doing more of that? Where are we on that front? Is there the possibility of getting more? What is going on with that?
I will say this, writing Power Rangers Ninja Turtles was probably my favorite writing experience of all time. Like it was the most fun I've ever had. Simone is a fantastic artist, and like there was so much stuff it was one of those great experiences where like I would write stuff and then he would like take it, like the way the Turtle Rangers evolved and how that design evolved was really fun. And so I really loved that. And the Green Ranger Shredder was something I'd wanted. That was my pitch. That was yeah, literally I was like, when they told me they're doing, I was like, Green Ranger Shredder, that's my pitch. I'm like, what? I was like, he gets the coin somehow and then he becomes Green Ranger Shredder. He's already a villain. Like, let's see that. Let's see Shredder with some badass Green Ranger stuff. Like, put the visor on the helmet. It'll be great. And that was my pitch. And then I was like, and then I came up with other stuff. But so I love those franchises. I would 100% do it again. And I would be lying if I didn't say I'd already had like if you opened up my computer, there wasn't already a spreadsheet of stuff that I've already started thinking about if that opportunity were to materialize. I will say that the powers that be make those decisions and I do not. But that's as far as I can go in regards to that. Like it's complicated. But know this, if the opportunity arises, I will 100% do it, and I would love. And I got some. Now it's just trying to come up with what you want to do. Like, what do we do next? Yeah, like the first one was sort of setting the table. It's like, ooh, what'd you do with the next one? It's like, how do you go crazy, or how do you do all the things you weren't able to get in the first?
Right. Like
you have an idea. I want to hear what this idea was. You're about to say
Ace
something.
Duck. just want to throw Ace Duck out there. This is like throwing the name out there.
Absolutely, Rat King.
Oh, Rat King's another one.
There's a bunch, man. And the funny thing is, I got accused by this of other people that were like, "Stop getting so excited about the Turtles and bring in the Power Ranger stuff." And I was just like, "I'm sorry." It's just like I've been writing Power Rangers. I've written like 60 issues of Power Rangers. I've written 5 issues of Turtles.
That? Oh my god!
I don't know. Like they're both great. I love them both. But I was like, I don't know if I was like you. I had all the action figures. I had all the Turtles action figures.
Right. Yes. Like, and I had the
obscure ones, like
the
astronaut Raphael, and
oh my god, I mean, and as ridiculous as they are, those were actually some of my favorites because it makes no sense. Like, why is he in space? I loved
Detective Donatello with like
oh my god,
that was my favorite character because I was like, I wanted to do a whole story about just Donatello wandering the city to play a detective.
And also, if I was writing something and I then got to merge that with another franchise that I loved, I would probably spend more time trying to work the other franchise in, because I've already, like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. If I got to combine Turtles and Golden Girls and I was writing Turtles, I would spend most of my time working in the Golden Girls. And yes, that is a franchise crossover I would totally write in a heartbeat. No one's approaching me. I don't, that's not what I do. But hey, whatever. If you want that, let me know. I'm here.
Pretty good. I think you should do I can't remember all their names right now, but who's, oh man, the tall one.
Oh, Dorothy.
Dorothy would be the Red Ranger, right?
Oh yeah. Oh man, yeah, she's got to be.
Blanche would be the Black Ranger. I think
Estelle Getty, her real name. Oh Jesus. Okay, Sophia.
Sophia would be the Yellow Ranger.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then,
but like Omega Ranger, Yellow Ranger with a hammer.
Totally.
Like, yeah, she's got a hammer.
And then Betty White would be the Blue Ranger.
Yeah.
And then their friend from Empty Nest would be the Pink Ranger.
Done.
We're here for.
Wow. And then Stan is Drakken. Done.
Just the full outfit. Yeah, it's awesome.
Done. Oh my God. Someone please draw that. Okay. I need some fan art of that. Yeah, it's very soon. So I would love to talk to you about this all day. I know you got tons of things to do. You got tons of things to write. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us about the comics. Just to kind of close things out, what have you been most proud of with these new runs? Just kind of going from Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers and kind of from that era forward. And is there anything that you look back on and you would go like, man, I wish I could change that, or I would do it a little differently now, just knowing how the story's progressed? What would that be?
How much time do we got now? I think, what am I most proud of? I'm proud. I mean, this is a stupid answer, but I'm sorry. Like, the coolest thing about writing Power Rangers for me is that it taught me what I actually like about writing, like or what I think is important. Like, I realize, like, the thing that I get the most reactions to is people have really liked Go-Go. Like, Go-Go is the thing that I think most people come up to me and they're like, I love that first run of Go-Go. And I was like, okay, and that's cool. You know, as an ego maniac, like, you're like, what about my new stuff? Why don't you like my new stuff? But the part of that is, and to be fair, like, not to get aside, but I actually met I won't get a name, but I met an artist or a writer artist at Comic-Con, and it was like, when I was a kid, I had a poster that they had done, and I was like so excited to meet him, and then I told him how much I loved the run that he did, and he rolled his eyes at me and was just like, yeah. And I was just like, dude, it's not my fault that thing was super popular and that's the thing I liked. I'm sorry. But anyway, so I'm not going to be that guy. But but anyways, my point was, like, I think it made me realize, like, it taught me that, like, character is the most important thing. Like, if you love if you love Power Rangers and you're reading the comic books, what it tells me is you like these characters and you want to hang out with them more. You want to learn about them. You want to find out who they are. You want to, like, one of the coolest things that's happened in all of this is the fact that, like, when I got on I think it was a panel for, God, I don't remember what it was for. Maybe it was Comic-Con or WonderCon, and I got to talk to Steve, the Rocky, and and he told me this whole on the panel. He told this whole backstory about what originally, like, they wanted to do with his character, and how he had, like, a bunch of brothers and sisters, and he was the oldest family. And I literally took a pen down and started writing down. I was like, yes, that's what I want, and I was able to get that into the comic. I was able to find a way to bring that into the comic, and what I thought was a pretty emotional thing. So, like, I feel like that's the thing that I'm the proudest of, is, like, I think it taught me that's the stuff that I like. I like digging into, like, the story. Like the Zord battles are cool, and the stuff is fine, but, like, I like doing, like, a 2-page monologue where Kimberly talks about the first time when she won a medal when she was, like, 13, and her parents argued about the drive home, and that's all she remembers. Like, that stuff, I think we can all kind of,
so good.
Yeah, it's like finding a way to humanize these people and make them realize it's just, we're all just kids and stuff like that. So, like, I like that. The other side of that is, like, if there's something that I'm not, I'll say one thing, and it's like, the transfer, this is gonna get me in trouble, but screw it. The transfer over to Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers, splitting the series, that was hard for me to figure out how to transition from Necessary Evil into that. And I think what ultimately got a little, I think the Green Ranger story and the Dark Rangers, I think that got truncated in a way that I think wasn't great for it. I think I would have really, if we could go back in time, I would extend that longer. I wanted to do a whole whodunit with the Green Ranger. I really wanted to make it like, I wanted to bring Curtis back into the story, and Rick and what's his name, Richie. I wanted to bring all those characters in.
God.
I wanted to create like a whole like Knives Out style like thing of like who could the Green Ranger be?
Oh
But
my
ultimately, I just ran out of space and time to try and get to that crossover. And then, you know, bringing in the Dark Rangers, I really love those designs that Dan Mora did. I think those things look so cool. And I was like, I loved the idea of making the minions them, but like maybe I could have done something that really dug into who they are and what it would be like for them to have power. And I feel like it got a little truncated because I was trying to figure out a way to launch both series at the same time. So that's probably the one thing that if I could go back in time, I would have spent a little more time doing that. I'm still learning how to actually, you know, tell a story in shorter bursts. It seems like my arcs just keep getting longer and longer and longer and longer. Like unlimited power is going to be 37 issues or something like that. But but I think that's what happens. Like I did the math on this the other day. I've written 65 issues or 60 something issues of Power Rangers in like 3.5 years.
Jeez.
Like, that's a lot. That's a
lot
of Power Rangers. Yeah. I'm very lucky. Don't get me wrong. This is not me complaining. It's just me like,
that's a lot of Power Rangers.
A lot of Power Rangers. So try not to repeat yourself. You're trying to, you know, hitting those deadlines is hard sometimes, but being way too honest here.
Yeah,
but,
and then you're doing books like a year in advance, just so that you can have certain people work on it. Which, thank you for the effort, because
look, awesome. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. The fans are awesome. There are days when like, you know, you're behind on deadline and you're trying to catch up with everything and got 3 hours of sleep, and then a book comes out and like 3 or 4 people reach out to me and they're just like, I love this book so much. It's the book that I look forward to each month. Thank you for doing this, you know. And then people find little tiny details that you dropped in there or laughed at a joke that you wrote in there. And like that stuff, it means a lot to, I mean, people might pretend that it doesn't, but it matters. And so like, it's been nice. And so like, look, I don't know. I know I won't get this opportunity forever. Like there's going to be a day when I'm not writing Power Rangers and somebody better than me is going to take it and run with it. But like, I'm really, really, really lucky. And I hope that I am carrying the torch well, and that, you know, I know I'm not going to please everybody. I know some people are disappointed in some things and like that, but I'm doing my best. And, you know, for those who like me, thank you for the support. And for those who don't, someday someone better will take over and it'll be okay.
Oh man, you know what? Look, I'm just gonna say it. Big shoes to fill. All right. So whenever you leave, it's a big shoes to fill. I do not look forward to that day. So I'm very happy. You will write 65 more issues of Power Rangers. Be perfectly happy.
Oh God.
Well, probably not good for your sanity, but like, you know what I mean. It's good. Also, I will say I have one of my friends and coworkers on Comic Book is going to be so happy that you said Richie, because like they are the biggest Richie fan, and like we'll go back and forth like why why are you
He's handsome? He's a handsome man.
But it's just like such a random, it's just like such a random character to be like, so he's like, oh man, Richie. I'm like, oh, okay, he's so
I'm telling you this right now. If you don't think Richie's gonna come back as like a horrible villain in my story at some point now, he's sitting there. I'm telling you.
He's gonna be so excited. You're gonna have one, just jot it down. You already have one fan who's just gonna be, oh my God, did you see that? I was like, yes, I saw Richie. It's gonna be so happy. Oh man. Well, thank you so much for taking all this time out to talk about this. And for everyone watching, I hope you enjoy what's coming next on Power Morphicon, and keep checking out the Power Rangers comics. Thanks so much, Ryan.
My pleasure, man. Thanks.